You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Have you ever felt a bit conflicted about who you are, your identity in your business? Is it you, the professional, like you used to be in your job, or is it you and the whole of you? You as the mum, the wife, the daughter, the person who loves to go out running or surfing or whatever it is that you like to do in your time, and how do you choose what that identity is in your business and what to include and what not, and what relevance is it anyway? Well, today's episode is all about the journey that my special guest has had on going from being an entrepreneur and being really business focused into becoming a mamapreneur, let's say. She's currently pregnant with her first child and is going through that transition into, what does her business look like once she is a mother? And, how does she present in it? What kind of changes is she making to be successful at running a business at the same time as raising a baby? Now, there's a lot of great stuff in here for you, whether you're already a mum or if you're a mum to be as well. So I encourage you to stay tuned and listen in, because there's plenty of business advice that you can do and take on to make running your business lighter and easier for you as well.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. Now, my beautiful guest today is the lovely Marliese McGee, who is a personal trainer who's now a meal prepping coach for busy mums. She's the founder of Holistic Happy and also has an online community called the Simply Fit Mum Squad, where she serves busy mums and really helping them to nail the nutrition side of their training so that they can be fit, happy, and healthy without it being overwhelming and taking over their time. Now, she's sharing with us her journey on going from an entrepreneur with an online business to she's now pregnant with her first child and she's going to be a mamapreneur, and what that has meant for her, what she's doing in her business so that she can make it manageable, so she can keep her business running, she can have that ideal balance of business life and family life. So you will love to connect with her. She's got so much to share. And if you want to find out more about Marliese, you can find her at Instagram on holistic.happy.training or her website, holistichappy.ca. I'm also linking up her YouTube channel and Facebook in the show notes. So please jump through there and find out more about Marliese, especially if you're into nutrition and training. I'm sure that what she shares on her YouTube channel will be really, really interesting for you. I'm certainly going to be checking it out after today's interview, because she shared so much that made a lot of sense for me too. As a busy mum business owner, time is one of our greatest resources, most precious resources that we never have enough of, never have any to spare, and anything that can help me save time is certainly where I want to spend my time. So without further ado, let me play this interview for you. Okay, and I'm here with the lovely Marliese McGee. Marliese, thank you so much for joining me today. This is really exciting. I love connecting with you. It's been a while since we met in person, but I'm so interested to chat to you today about this topic of transitioning from entrepreneur with a business to mamapreneur, still have a business, and now you've got something else to care for, because it's probably something really close to a lot of our hearts and also something can be a bit scary, right, for some people. So really amazing topic. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. It can be a little bit scary and a little bit daunting, especially as like a first time mom, as you probably know as well. So I'm super excited to just share and help support the other mamapreneurs that are here and or thinking about being a mom. It's a big step. So I'm super excited to like chat with you all about that.
Yeah, amazing. I've got so much to ask you, but before we get started, do you want to give the listeners just the quick 1-minute intro as to who you are and what you do in your business?
Absolutely. So I'm a meal prep coach and I focus specifically on working with busy moms. My business name is Holistic Happy and I run a membership called Meal Prep Like a Mother. And it really is just focused on simple, quick, easy, and efficient ways to help feed your family really healthy and nutritious meals in a way that doesn't burn you out and overwhelm you as a mom, whether you're a new mom or a mama of long repute as well. It's one of those things we always need to feed our family. So I started off as a personal trainer working with moms, and that was a thing that kind of transitioned into where like I'm starting to eat healthier. I don't know how to do that with my family, so I started teaching them little tips and tricks here and there. And the biggest point of feedback I got was, yes, this is all great, but I'm still cooking every day and it's burning me out. So what can I do instead? So I was like, okay, so let's teach busy moms how to meal prep, and it's not that kind of bodybuilder style with the scales and the protein powder and things like that, which is like very traditional way to kind of think about it. It is really tailored towards busy moms and just allowing them to, I call it getting off their daily cooking hamster wheel, so you don't feel so like you can catch your breath. Yes, exactly. The chore out of it and just
because there is so much, and as you're about to discover when you have your child, like the mental load, I don't think anyone can really appreciate it until you are living it. Like there is just such a huge shift from you looking after yourself as a human to you suddenly looking after another human. And I think at first I actually found the baby part super easy because I was breastfeeding, like they don't really need much. It's just me. As long as I'm there, it's all good. Like, no worries. I'm still looking after myself. But, once it gets, it just builds, and it kind of just builds without you really realizing until one day you're like, oh my God, the mental load of like, I've got to keep up with when do they need injections and what are the appointments that we're going to, and we're going here and there. There's this whole other life that you've got all of their schedule and all this stuff in your head, and you tend to do it all as the mum. I don't know why, maybe because we're good at compartmentalizing and organizing. Right? And our husbands don't really get it, because even though mine was great, he would jump in and help out and do lots of stuff. He was not keeping track of anything that they needed to be doing. He was just on the daily, like, oh, they need food. Okay, I can make them some food. Or, he's not thinking ahead. He's not thinking, well, I need to go to the shop so that we've got something for tomorrow or whatever else. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like a lot. Thinking. Yeah, I feel like as moms, that's one of the things, right? Like we start to think ahead, and then we're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot. And then it's like that overwhelm kind of sets in, but then we're like, okay, but like this is our domain. This is like, we want to be the best moms we can, and we want to show up and be as present as we can at the most amount of like opportunities we can with our kids. So it's one of those things where like my husband as well, like he's been so great, even so far, just like my first trimester and like supporting me and that sort of thing. But I'll be like, okay, so what are we going to have for dinner? And we have all of these different meals in the freezer. Like, which one should we choose? And it's one of those things that's a bit tough to, I don't know if it's like a traditional thing or what have you, but it's one of those things where I feel like as moms, we tend to think a lot more about that. We have a lot more of that mental space dedicated to the future, and trying to make sure we're on top of everything, because we're like, if we're not, we don't want anything to like fall off the wagon. We want to keep everybody strapped in.
Exactly. And, I think that's probably for me also something, just going back to what you do and helping the mums with meal prepping, that having food that's going to help them achieve their body goals, health goals, weight loss, fitness, whatever that is. It does feel like, well, when you're going to do something, I guess immediately you think, well, I'm going to have to eat differently to the rest of the family, or I'm going to be cooking twice. And so you kind of have all this like, oh, I don't think I can even go there. It's already too much. It's already enough, right? And so I can just see that, doing this, and specifically you are working with people who are mums, so you know that they're cooking for a family, that it's about it being something that makes life easier rather than adding another thing into their busy life. Like, I just completely see how beneficial that would be.
I love that. Like you just put like hit the nail on the head. Such a beautiful way to say it. It's not about adding something else for you to do. It's about learning to do something in a slightly different way, so that all of these different things start to become possible. whether it's in your business, whether it's spending more time with your kids, whether it's feeling less mental stress and overwhelm, and just really simplifying and streamlining things. Efficiency is like a big thing for moms.
Yes.
I know. Like, it's just like, let's just like get it done. And I'm like, yes, preach that. So cooking one time a week, to have an entire week of dinners ready to go while still having the variety, while still not having to cook multiple meals for different tastes, and, you know, while still being able to cater to picky eaters and still be able to do all of that in a way that doesn't cause that burnout and overwhelm is like a really big, like, you're like, oh, you can like feel that deep breath, just like, okay, I can do this. This isn't something that's out of my reach. And it's not something that I feel like I have to stay stuck with. Because we know we all have to cook for our families, right? We know we all have to do that. So if we can do that in a way that's really streamlined, easy, efficient, but it also in a way that's not like bland and boring and just eating the same thing every day, it can be really transformational in all those areas outside the kitchen as well. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I'd love to learn more about it, I think, because I think that we still do a bit of like cooking for the adults and cooking for the kids, only because we're like, well, we like this kind of food and they won't eat it. But, you know, we're getting to a point where they're getting a lot more adventurous, which is excellent. But I know that there would be some things that we could probably do that are really simple tweaks that would mean that it's suitable for the whole family. And I definitely am somebody who would probably need or benefit from getting more further planned ahead, because I'm the person who goes, right, what are we having tonight at like 5:30?
Exactly. It's like, okay, in 15 minutes. Yeah, I need to get something on the table. And that moment right there, although we can kind of laugh about it, and all of us moms experience that, like that moment of like, it's 5:15, what are we going to get? But the question I have for so many moms is, what if you didn't have that moment? You know, what if you're at the park playing with your kids and you don't have to rush home because you have to get dinner on the table because it's not prepped ahead? Or what if dinner time was just like, you knew what was going to happen? And even if it didn't happen the way that you thought it would, you prepped 5 different meals. And for instance, like it's a Wednesday and you prep like a pasta dish, like spaghetti and meatballs or something like that. And all of a sudden, nobody really wants spaghetti and meatballs. Just the freedom to say, okay, well, let's shove that to the next day and let's shove one of the other meals into tonight. So the variety, just like being able to like kind of like plug and play your own sort of meal prep adventure.
Yeah.
It's just becoming more fun and a little bit less like, okay, what am I going to do?
And I think that's the other thing as well. Like, you know, and I know we've sort of dived off on a big tangent here, but I love it as well. I think learning that it can still work with your personality type, because I'm someone that probably doesn't like to go like on Monday. I'm not planning what I'm having on Friday because I don't know what I'm going to feel like on Friday, and I want to eat what I feel like, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think it's being able to have something that feels like it's still flexible. You're still going to be able to choose, but you've just kind of done this prepping ahead of time, which means that you're saving time today, which I think, I'm liking the sound of this more and more. Because
thank you. Thank you, girl.
I'm not the one that's
super
like
passionate.
runs by rules or structure. I'm like, put me in a box. No, I don't like it. But this is sounding really smart, and I think it could work.
Well, thank you. And that's one of the things that differentiates like traditional meal prep, which is very regimented, weighing things on scales, doing all of these sorts of traditional, like it seems almost like very restrictive in a way, in like the traditional sense, like the bodybuilding, like training sense, versus like meal prepping as a mom. And that's why I was so passionate about designing this. It's not for bodybuilders. It's not for like, yes, people who don't have kids can benefit from it. I have a couple of people who've gone through the membership. They loved it. However, it is very, very much designed to be flexible, to have that freedom of choice, that variety, those things that we face as moms, like we don't want to be fitted into this box. So it's like all the planning and organizing is done for you, but then you can start to add your own. You can start to move things around. You can start to do what works best for your family. But since the foundation is already there, it's just like, having a bunch of like Post-it notes, and you can kind of move them around versus having to write all the content out on Post-it notes.
I love it. Amazing.
Nothing worse than like blinking cursor syndrome in the brain at dinner time,
Yeah.
Oh,
what
God.
can I make? Oh, not that again. Oh my God, boring. Yeah, and
exactly.
you default back to the same stuff all the time, don't you? So amazing. Now I'm going to take a quick about turn and start talking about your journey here, because I guess I want wanted to start with, and this is coming from my experience, I became a mother while I was still working my corporate job. So I did have a business. It was what I would call a side hustle. So it wasn't really a thing. It was a thing that I was doing on the side. And it, as it always does, when you approach it like that, it never really turned into the main thing. It was before I started this business. So I actually went through a bit of I guess I held off from having kids because I was freaked out about what it was going to do to my career, what it was going to mean. And, this would change who I was. And I think, especially in the corporate space, you're very much, you're you at work and you're not a mum. Like you don't become like the corporate person who's a mum. And when you kind of get put in that box or people are trying to put you in the box, you're like, stop it. I'm not any different. I'm still me. I'm still doing the same job. And so you really fight. Well, I was definitely fighting against that. And even though I fought it, it still happened. They still put me in the box of like, you're now a mum. Now you can't do as much as you could before, which was ridiculous. But anyway, there's this whole, we won't go dive into that, but I was wondering for you, because you've got your business, so you're an entrepreneur already, and then you're becoming a mum. Did you feel any fear around what would happen? Have you kind of been afraid of taking this transition into now trying to run a business and being a mum? Was there any of that going on for you, or are you feeling much more comfortable? Because I know in our circles, obviously there's lots of us out here. And in fact, women tend to become an entrepreneur when they mother because they just find that the other world is no longer fitting for them, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, let me know, what was it like for you?
I think it's really interesting. It comes in waves. And the emotional aspect is something I love that you're touching on, that because it's, especially as moms, as women, especially, some men as well, but we like those people, those type A type sorts of personalities. We like to think about the future. We like to future project and be able to not guarantee, but be able to see what we're going to be like in a future circumstance, And I feel like that's where you really were, and I love that you brought that up. You were like, I'm still me, whether I have a child or not, whether I'm a mom or not, in this circumstance, whether it's future, past, present, I'm still me. And I don't want to be put in this sort of box. And for me, it's interesting because I've wanted to be a mom for a long time. And kind of like COVID happened and lots of other things like kind of came up, and I was like, we're gonna wait. So it's interesting. It's a little bit of a different circumstance because now that I'm pregnant and excited to be a first-time mom, I almost feel like I'm so excited. I have certain moments where I have those fears come up, but I'm just so excited to finally be here in the space and to like, kind of like you said, there's so many of us out there, and there's this great community of women and women entrepreneurs, mama entrepreneurs who are like boss moms. That's kind of like, I know, like the hashtag boss mom. I know that's so cliche, but that's like, I'm just like you. I'm like, you know what? You can put me in a box if you want. And I know this sounds like really high school, but you put me in a box if you want, but you just watch, though. It's okay. Because basically only we know what it's like to be a mom, to run a business, to balance that. And unless the other person has really been through that or has like a personal experience going through that with someone they're really close with, I just kind of let people have their opinions. Everybody's kind of got one.
You're so right.
So I feel like the excitement and I feel like I'm more, because I have the community, like we're connected and I'm connected with a lot of other mama entrepreneurs, just like a lot of women who listen to your podcast as well. We're connected in a way that allows us to have like a little bit more of a support system.
Yeah. And I think there's so many role models, isn't there, as well? Like, when you, it's probably far less scary because you can look out there straight away and see so many other women who are totally nailing it. And you're like, there's nothing scary about running a business and being a mum, because I can see other people are doing it. And obviously you're going to be experiencing it. You'll find your own way and the way that works for you. But the fact that there are so many who are doing it, I think is really good. And I can see now that that's probably what was really missing in what I'll call the corporate world. I'm like putting up my hands and doing the little
air quotes,
like, the people who are in leadership positions tend to be men or women without children.
And so it does feel very alien, and they also kind of reject it as well. They reject the idea of a mum, especially the company I worked in, that the CEO actually told me that you'll have other priorities. Essentially, you know, if you're going to be a mum, you're not going to be in the executive team. That was pretty much what I was told, which was really big slap in the face, I thought, after everything that, you know, you're like, well, haven't I not proven that I can do this? What does having a child do or change? Shouldn't change anything, but it does, unfortunately, in a lot of places. And I'm on a bit of a mission to change that dogma. But, you know, I love the fact that, yeah, you're in this really supportive environment and community where you've got so many people who understand, who get it, and you can see, hey, it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be something that you avoid, because it can work. And there's some amazing examples of it working. So that's lovely. Really good. So being pregnant now, what changes have you already made in thinking, like just in how you're managing your business and yourself right now? And how are you thinking about what changes you might be making once the baby comes along? Have you got a plan in place?
I have a 55-point slide plan. I'm going to pull it out day by day. Actually, it's really interesting because for my business, I like to plan it out by quarters, 4 quarters in a year. And so it was interesting because when I found out I was pregnant, it was in the middle, or it was at the end of 1 quarter, and I had just finished a launch. I was feeling good. I'm like, hey, I just did a launch. Everything's like going really well. I'm like gearing up to do XYZ. I have all these like different plans and different things. And I found out I was pregnant, and I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because I'm not afraid, but I know myself. And I was like, if I have morning sickness, or I have this, or I have that, if I have lower energy, if I'm not feeling like I always usually do, I'm the type of person who will give myself that space, or try to, as much as possible, try and find that balance. So I said, okay, and this is probably the biggest piece of advice I have, and the thing that I think is going to be such a huge driving force through the pregnancy into being a mom, is it really creates clarity around what your priorities are. Do I need to spend 2 days looking at what type of webinar software is the best webinar software? Or can I just ask someone who does it, use their recommendation, trust their recommendation, and just get that set up and move on? I think it just creates such massive clarity. Because I feel like as entrepreneurs, especially again as female entrepreneurs, we tend to be a little bit more on the creative side, a little bit more of like the bigger picture side. We're like, okay, well, all of these options are there. Well, which one's the best option? What's going to help me build my business the best? What's going to support me in the best way? And those are all still valid things. However, it's about, okay, cool. If I need this thing in my business, well, let's get that set up. Let's move that along, rather than saying, okay, well, I wanted to start my TikTok 3 weeks ago. Haven't really set it up yet. It's starting to create some like more kind of instant action, like messy action, just letting it be the way it is and being okay with that. Because for a couple of reasons, the biggest one being, I don't feel like I'm on a clock necessarily, but I do have certain goals that I want to have things in place before the baby comes. For instance, I'd love to have as much automated and delegated as possible, which means processes and systems being set up, and kind of knowing overall what that's going to kind of entail. And I don't remember what the other one was. It'll come to me. Yeah. But just trying to give myself grace as I can. I think that's the biggest piece of advice, is just like trying, you have a lot of clarity when it comes to like, okay, I need to have these things in place, or I want to have these things in place. And the clarity also allows you to not put so much on your plate, and just say, okay, well, if I need this, okay, cool. This is good enough. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect. Yeah,
exactly. And have you made any changes, I guess, for your future plans of how you run your business, that you're like, well, you know that you're going to have a little bit less time because you've got other stuff that's going on? Are you looking at your business structure, and have you made any changes to allow yourself that extra time, but without, I guess, you want your business to be still growing and working? So like you said, you're making some quick decisions. You're probably looking more like, well, do I really need that? Do I really need that? Is there anything like that going on at the moment?
The biggest thing I would say is I'm moving off of the live launch every 2 months to doing automated launching. So like doing webinars into the membership and
Mm-hmm.
all of my, and this is something I think either we were talking about or someone in the Facebook group that we were part of, we were talking about just only like, yes, having all of the funnel set up. So, you know, having the webinar set up, going into the membership is already there. The support system is already there. Everything's kind of set up step by step. And then the energy isn't going into, okay, I need to design a new launch every quarter. I need to run this live every quarter. I need to update the membership every quarter. It's just focusing on helping people find the membership and helping them, welcoming them into my world so I can help support them, which is really where I love spending most of my energy anyway.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be putting those things into place. So automating that part of it and then focusing the bulk of my energy on helping people come in and welcoming them and making sure they feel comfortable and heard and giving them all the tools they need.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think, you know, you're so lucky that you've actually already got this kind of business and style of business, I think, heading into this, because when I started this business, I started it with a brand new baby. So the week she was born, I kind of went,
Girl, you are
okay,
amazing.
I'm starting a business.
You are amazing. That is so great.
Well, it was kind of a bit like you're saying, you know, different for me because I went on maternity leave from my role and I was like, right, I've got my maternity leave to get this business up, running and successful so that I don't have to go back to the job.
Yes.
So I gave myself a huge challenge. And so I had a similar thought to you where I was like, well, I actually was almost designing it right from the start, knowing, well, I've got this baby, so I know what it's going to be like. And luckily it was my second one, so I knew even more. I was like, well, I know that I'm going to need it to be flexible and not to be locked in. So it just meant straight away, I wasn't looking at the type of services where I had deadlines or I was going to be meeting clients, you know, and they needed me to be there from 9 to 5 or something like that, because I was like, well, that's not always going to work out. So it led me on this path to designing my business this way, which was really handy. But I've had clients as well who were like you, they had a business and then they became a mum. And one of them, you know, they, I guess, really had that challenge of the way she'd been doing it previously. She's like, I know I'm not going to be able to continue in this way, like you're saying, with the live launching, like, you know, I'm not going to be able to continue that once I have a baby. So I need to sort of change how I'm offering my business and how I'm running it. And, you know, she'd been doing sort of lots of networking events to get clients. I was like, right, well, let's see how we can actually create your business so that they come to you and you're not needing to go out to networking events. And how can we reduce the amount of client work that you do? So it was sort of changed to being big strategic projects where she'd have a lot more time and could really work it into her schedule however she needed to. So there's so many things like that. And I think, like you're saying with the technology as well, there's just so much that can be automated. And I really find with a lot of service-based businesses, they've kind of been doing stuff because they've had the time. And then suddenly, if you're going to become a mum, you're like, oh, I don't have so much time. Well, what can you automate? What can you use technology to do for you instead of you doing it manually? That's probably one of the easiest time savers that you can find straight up. So yeah, changing your model.
One of the things that came up for me, but again, that clarity just came back in, was there could be some guilt around that. Oh, but if I'm not showing up live, like, does that mean I don't care about my business or that I'm not invested enough in my business? Or there's a lot of different thoughts that especially came up for me because I love being live with people. Like, I love connecting and I love being on this podcast and chatting with you. It's so, I think the biggest piece of advice I would have for that is it's okay if it's not exactly the way it was before, because if it's not exactly the way it was before, the way you're running your business or the structure, it doesn't mean that it's not as good. It just means it's different. And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that it's all in our own heads, right? Of like, people will judge and all of this stuff. And I look back now and laugh because, like I mentioned before, starting this business with a brand new baby, I thought, well, I've got to do some lives. And she was sleeping on me in a baby carrier because she had reflux. So I'd be like, well, she's sleeping on me. She's asleep. I'm just going to do it. So I'd like literally turn the video on, do my live with her on my front asleep in the baby carrier. And I probably didn't have like great makeup on or whatever. And I just thought, you know,
by the time you're there, you're a bit tired. You've probably been up, broken sleep. And I was just like, screw it. I'm just doing this anyway. And no one cares what I look like. No one cares I've got a baby on me. They're probably more interested in what I've got to say anyway. And you know what? That was exactly how it was. And it was so amazing to just get rid of that need for everything to feel and look perfect and to be like, I must look professional to be professional. It's like, no, I'm still me. I've still got all of this experience. I've still got all of that stuff. I don't have to fit some kind of archaic mold of what you think a professional person looks like in order to be professional. Exactly. And yes. It's so freeing.
So freeing. Well, that's like that difference between the entrepreneurial and the corporate world. I think it's like can be one of those things where you're just like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. So I'm just me. And that's amazing. That's it. Like, there it is. Like, I am me. I have my experiences. And when people show up, that's what they're here for. They're not here for the perfect hair and the business suit and the this and the that, which is so, as an employee, we're really ingrained to value super highly. Like, we need to fit into a box in order to be valued or to be seen as professional or knowledgeable. And now, just as you said, like, now being an entrepreneur, it's such a freeing experience, because when you show up like as yourself and you do your thing, and people, when they resonate with that is such a powerful moment.
Yeah.
And so validating as an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yes, I've made it.
Yes. Just like, get rid of all that baggage, all that fear of judgment and everything that we're living under for so long. Now, I'm really interested to hear, have you felt, or are you making a transition in identity from Marliese, the badass entrepreneur, to Marliese, the badass mamapreneur? Like, do you feel like there's a shift that is happening naturally, or a shift that you're kind of wanting to make to kind of step into some different shoes? Like, what is that feeling like for you?
So it's interesting, because so part of my business is online, and then part of it is still working one-on-one in person with people. And when I eventually give birth, I am going to be releasing the in-person one-to-one aspect of my business. It's something I knew. I was like, when you just know, you're like, this is the right decision. This is going to be fine. Yeah. So I feel like the transition it's starting to happen mentally for me as well, before the actual like actions are taking place. But yeah, it's definitely normal to have kind of those moments. Like, I've had a couple where I'm like, girl, you crazy? Like, you're, what's going, like, you can totally balance that, or you should totally do that. And I like to bring kind of a little bit of awareness to that, because it's totally normal to have those moments where you're like, okay, I'm going to make this shift towards setting up my business and respecting the time that I'm going to have and the energy that I have, and showing up for myself in a way that will allow me to be the best mom that I can be, but also balancing that with, this is a change. This is something that is going to be, basically, we haven't run the business like this before. This is like the internal dialogue, right? We haven't run the business like this before, but it's going to be okay. Because I feel like, and I say this with all like the love to all the other entrepreneurs that I have met, mama entrepreneurs, they are just like, it is a whole other breed of entrepreneur. Absolutely. Like, the organizational skills, the prioritization skills that I have seen on so many entrepreneurial women and moms has been like top notch, next level. So I feel like, again, just having that support and community, I feel like the transition at moments has been a little bit scary, because I want to try and have that balance between my business and being a mom. But I feel like, okay, if these other people can do it, I can do this. Like, I can, and not only can I do this, but the skills in each area are going to kind of like bounce off each other. Like you were saying, like in the corporate world, you're either like, you're at work and you're not a mom there, and then you're at home and you're a mom. The beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur is, like, as a mom, your skills just kind of interweave, and I'm excited to start seeing that overlap happen, because I see a lot of women, they're just like, oh, like, my goodness, like, I was so worried about this, but it's almost like, it's not easy necessarily, but they're like, oh, I already knew how to do this. I can schedule in appointments, or I can prioritize things. I can, like, have the baby, and like you said, I'm filming myself at the same time, and it doesn't need to be perfect. So let's just do it, So the transition has been a little bit scary at times, but I also feel like, okay, cool. If I can be a mom running a business is like,
Yeah, you
not a piece
can.
of cake,
Yeah.
but I can do this, if
Yeah.
I can care for a human being, the business
Yes.
will be fine.
Yeah, yeah. And have you got any kind of new parts of your identity or something that you're bringing in that you feel is a little bit new in how you're showing up? I love what you said before, is that you're just when we're in this business, the best thing about it is that you can drop all the charade and you actually just show up as you. And now that you're a mum, that means that you are a business owner and a mum all in one, not as two separate identities that you're living, half your life in one and half in another, but it is all one, because you're not showing up as anything different. You're you, and now you're transitioning into you as a mum, but you're still the same person. You've still got the business, which is just amazing. Like, I love that, because it just means that we can get rid of all of that concern and the fear and the worry and all of that, and just be ourselves, right? So is there anything, I was just interested in, what you feel your identity as a mamapreneur, is it still the same you, or are there a few new aspects that are coming in that you're excited about?
Yes, actually, there's a couple that I'm very excited about. I think at the end of the day, I think one of the things as entrepreneurs that is the most challenging, especially if you are like solopreneur, or you have a very small team and you're the face of your business, as you are as well. We tend to be really hard on ourselves when things aren't working the way we want them to, or we're not doing things as quickly as we think they should, or we're not making the amount of money we think we should be making, or
Yeah.
showing up in the way that we want to show up. I think the biggest thing that this experience has started to teach me is just do it. Like, just the identity that I'm showing up with is just one of like grace, I guess is the best word to say it. Just having
Love
grace
that.
with myself and saying to because like at the end of the day, like, I know I brought this up earlier, but people are always going to have opinions, and they're going to think what they're going to think, and they're going to do what they're going to do. But I have this kind of like this nugget in my mind where my kids are going to see how I am, and then they're gonna bring that part. I want them to get the best parts of me.
Yes.
Through this kind of process, I'm starting to just slowly, like you said, kind of drop the facade, I guess. Not that I was ever showing up in a way inauthentically, but dropping away the need to be perfect, and dropping away the need to show up in the exact way that I think everyone wants me to, and just doing the best that I can and being okay with that. Yeah, just like the being okay with that part's like definitely the biggest shift, I would say, so far.
Yes, that's incredible. And, a couple of things that were just coming up for me there, I guess, were, probably some stuff that you value starts shifting as well. Like, I found for sure what I'm valuing my time and, the amount of time that I'm prepared to spend on something. Like you said before, I'm not going to spend 2 days researching what software to use. I'm just going to ask someone and do it.
Yes.
That's already a shift in valuing your time as being so much more precious. And 100% that is something that every parent would relate to. Your time becomes incredibly precious, and giving yourself grace. Yeah, because the funny thing is, there's so many similarities when you can kind of compare two totally different things, like running a business and bringing up a kid. But unexpected stuff happens. Like, the kid will projectile poo, or, they'll do so. It's like, you cannot prepare for that. You don't know when it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. Boom. And you're like, you don't lose your rag or lose your brain. You just have to deal with it. And I think it's that kind of like just knowing your ability. You're like, yeah, I can deal with that, and I can deal with whatever happens in my business as well. Like, I can just, I know that whatever happens, it doesn't matter. I'll get through it. We will survive. And, I'm totally got everything I need to succeed. Even though I don't even know what that is yet. You just know that you're going to be able to do it, right? So
yeah, that deep knowing, for sure. That deep knowing is, I think that's such a powerful way to just sum everything up in a beautiful package, is because if you just take it one day at a time, I mean, of course we can plan, and, we look forward and we organize, and that's a huge strength as entrepreneurs that we have to try to, keep everything, get everything lined up. But I love that it's like, if something happens, we'll figure it out.
And it always will.
and it will always work out. It always has. And I love that, because that's, I think, that deep sense of knowing, like, and I love that it's just it's just a beautiful way to kind of wrap everything up in just like a nice package.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. So do you have any final tips that you'd love to share for anybody else who's embarking on this journey or thinking about it, maybe hasn't yet started?
I think the top three. Let's like get really like top three tips.
Uh-huh.
The first one, what I would say, and it's something we kind of touched on, is having some kind of a support system. And it doesn't need to look like other entrepreneurs. It can look however you need it to look for wherever
Mhm.
you are, either like in growing your business or in, in your pregnancy. Because one of the biggest things I learned is when I first started to become an entrepreneur was there's a lot of people around you that love you and care about you, and they do not understand the world you are in. And that is okay.
Yes.
They still love you and want to support you, but I'm sure many of the women in your audience have experienced that as they started to step into that world, and they're like, cool, like I want to tell my significant other or my best friend about this cool piece of software that can do this cool thing, or like
Yeah.
just things like that. So having support for where you think that you will need the support the most. And there's lots of different ways to do that, whether it's Facebook groups or reaching out to community around you, like in the city that you're in, and just starting to be okay with the fact that people who are close to you may not necessarily understand everything you're going through, and that's okay as you start to shift through, whether it's pregnancy, business, both at the same time, which is like awesome as well. I would say having a support system to reflect and just bounce ideas off of and to feel supported is just like that internal peace, right? Because everything in your business comes inside out. So I
Yes.
truly believe, yeah. So having that. Second thing would be, it's a very practical tip. I call it the dad principle. I'm sure many of your followers and listeners have heard it before, but it's delegate, automate, and delete as much as you can from your business. And I know that can sound really scary. Like, oh, I'm trying to run a membership, and I'm trying to run this, and I'm trying to run this, and like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so much more fulfilling when you can really, like you said, time is a precious resource. So the sooner that we start to understand as moms and as entrepreneurs, as soon as we start to really kind of internalize that and understand that,
Yes.
it becomes, takes a deep breath sometimes, but you're just like, okay, it's okay to let
Mm.
something go, or it's okay to automate that, or it's okay to delegate that to someone else, and then
Yeah.
just step back and not be on the front lines of everything all the
Yes. And it
time.
can be a really hard one to do as well, because
Yeah.
like, especially if you've created stuff, and I'm in a bit of a streamlining, simplifying process myself right now with my business. And it's because you get to a point where you realize, well, I've created lots of things, but now I'm actually probably got too much going on, that I'm spread a bit thin. I could do everything better than what I'm doing, which I know you can always do, but for me, it's like I've reached that point where I'm ready for that next shift. And in order to do that, I need to get rid of some of the stuff that's maybe not the best thing to be doing, or it doesn't make as much sense, or it's a bit heavy. Like, it doesn't mean I won't do it again
Yeah.
in the future, but it's like right now I need to simplify and cut some of that off so that I can grow, because while it's all holding me down, I'm just going to stay here where I am, and I'm not going to be able to shift. So I think, like you said, being okay with that. And it's like, it doesn't mean that it was a waste of time, or all that you've invested in it is gone. It's not. It's still there. It's still in your experience. It's still in your past. You're still bringing it with you. You just might not be doing it for the next year or whatever it is, have a break from it.
And
Awesome.
that's beautiful. That's like one of the best things about being an entrepreneur is you can pivot and shift and change, and we get to kind of determine that. And
Yeah.
that's really empowering, right? You're just like, yes, yes. And yeah, the third one I would say is be as flexible as you can as your body changes, as your business changes. I know it's really tempting to want to say, because like when I started, I was a personal trainer, and now I'm a meal prep coach for busy moms. And I know there can be some fear around transitioning in your business, or transitioning from the corporate world into running a business. But
Mm.
I think the most powerful piece of advice is just try and be as flexible and give yourself as much grace as possible, because this is unknown terrain for a lot of us. So like when we're just starting our business, or we're having a child for the
Mm.
first time, one day at a time, like
Yeah.
there's a great, like such a stereotypical quote, but like Oprah has the same 24 hours as we do, right? I know she has a team, she has a team, and she has this and she has that, but at the end of the day, we're all just people, and we're all just going to be doing our best. And it's okay if you need to take a week off. Like this week, I'm taking pretty much the entire week off because I'm waking up kind of nauseous, not great. So, and it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, so what can I do to nourish myself so I can then show up better at my business?
Yeah, and the rest can be as important as the work. So that's definitely a big lesson that I think I've had to learn, and I've learned it a few times. I've pushed myself too far. Definitely, just expecting myself to be a super mum. I think my first pregnancy and first baby, I was like, well, nothing's going to change. I'm still awesome me. And it's like, well, actually, it's okay. And it doesn't mean that you're any less, which I think is the thing. It's like it's okay to take a step back and follow your intuition as well. Like I think something like you were saying before with your support group, that's so important to have support networks, business and also other new mums as well who are going through it with you, is just so that you've got some other perspectives and people who will understand what you're going through, because often those close to you, they may come with expectations on you that you're going to do motherhood the same way they did, or like there's a lot, and it's funny, it's like a big can of worms that opens once you embark on this journey. You're like, there's all this expectation. Whoa. And can I not do this my own way? And of course you can, and they all mean well, but it's just having that extra buffer, I think, where you can feel like it's okay to not live up to other people's expectations. You set your own and be comfortable in those shoes.
That is so powerful. That right there, that's gonna like go up on a picture on my wall right there.
Awesome.
Like just show up as you, and other people will have expectations. It's interesting, especially during pregnancy. There's a lot that comes out. My mother, and like she's just like, oh, like it's gonna be like this and that, and I'm like, well, I value your opinion. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to file that away for later. And everyone means the best. They just want to help you, and they want to just help you and give you their own experience. But I love that. If that was like secret tip number 4, that would be, it's okay to not live up to other people's predetermined expectations of how you should be as a mom, how you should be as a business owner, how you should show up in general, because I feel like being an entrepreneur, just having the nudge to do that, and I truly do believe this means you have such a powerful sense of intuition within you. So trust that.
Definitely.
Really trust that. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you, Marliese. It's amazing. Awesome 3 tips with the bonus 4.
The secret ninja bonus
tip. Secret ninja tip. So if people would love to reach out and learn more from you and learn about meal prepping and all sorts of fun stuff, where can they find you?
2 different places that I love hanging out and show up regularly. So the first one would be my website, holistichappy.ca, and I have a free bonus 5-day meal prep menu plan for busy moms, free for your viewers as well. That will be available for them. It has a done for you grocery list, 5 recipes, and super easy meals to make throughout the week, so that you can begin to take that stress off of your mental load as a mom. And the second place is on my YouTube channel, and I can give you a link for that as well. But that's where I have all of like my best free content, equipment reviews, recipes, how to start meal prepping as a mom, lots of tips and tricks just to help you get started if you're like, where do I start? What do I do?
Amazing. I will link all of that up in the show notes. So just head there and you will find Marliese, her website, her YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. This has been a wonderful chat. I know that we could have kept on talking for ages. I had so much more that we could share and say, but I think this is a great place to wrap it up for today. And I really appreciate your time in joining us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jess. This has been really, really great. And you've taught me so much as well. So I'm so happy that we could chat and hang out today.
Love it. Love to share that energy. And as always, welcome to the sisterhood of Mamapreneurs. Let's start one.
Thank you. I am very excited to be here.
Can't wait to see your journey. And thank you once again.
You're welcome, girl. Thank you.
Do you get your knickers in a knot every time it comes to pricing your services? Maybe you know that you're undercharging. You know that you could be charging more and you really feel like what you're offering has so much more value, but you're constrained by a competitive market, or you're just not sure that if you raise your rates, maybe you're scared that somebody won't buy and then you'll end up with no clients and oh my God, what will happen then? Pricing has to be one of the hardest things that any business owner has to do. And it's because it's completely subjective, right? You can set your price at almost anything. And that's why most of us find ourselves pricing based on what other people are doing. But that means you end up in a place where you're competing on price. You're pricing yourself in a market against other people. And who wins in that situation? Well, guess who? The client, 100% of the time. So that's not what we want to be doing. You want to be setting your prices confidently, not undercutting yourself, and actually being paid properly for your services. So how do we do that? Well, there is a way that you can learn how to do pricing, how to get your expertise and knowledge priced in services that also mean you're not constantly marketing and selling. You want to be spending more of your time earning the money as opposed to trying really hard to bring it in and sell something to somebody who's not really that keen to buy it. Pricing is a really important part of your marketing strategy and it helps you to get the right clients. So yes, this is something that we definitely need to do and need to get it right. When we've got it right, wow, it feels so easy. Imagine being able to confidently tell people your price. Imagine having them just say yes straight away, no negotiation, no brainer, and it's actually what you want to be being paid. How much easier would your business feel then? Right? So the good news is that I'm running a live workshop as part of my Pricing with Poise online course. This is a mini course. We'll call it a mini course because really it's not a huge big course. Like as opposed to my main program, Business Jam, that is a big strategic program. Pricing with Poise Masterclass is something that you can do in the space of a weekend. You know, you can really knuckle down, get it done, and get your pricing done. And for everybody who's enrolled in Pricing with Poise, this month I'm running a live workshop. So you're going to be able to join me online and bring all of your questions, bring the things that you're struggling with your pricing. How do you put this package together? How should you set your pricing? Maybe how do you price your different services so that you're getting people to buy the one that you really want them to buy instead of just choosing the cheapest one or something that's based on price. We will cover all of that and more so that you leave it clear and confident about your pricing and profitable as well, because that's what we're here for. This is what business is all about. It's about you being profitable so that you can put that money back into whatever it is that you would love to invest in, donate to, or support with your life and your lifestyle. Head to jessicaosborne.com/pricing to find out all the information about Pricing with Poise. You can dive right in today, get a head start on the online content, go through the pricing strategy, worksheets that I've got for you, go through the short videos explaining how it works, start that work, and then join me for the live workshop on the 19th of July. It's going to be loads of fun. You'll be able to get live coaching, you'll be able to get your questions answered, and yes, there will be a replay and recording that will be available to you inside your program, Pricing with Poise, that you also have lifetime access to. So what's not to like about that? Head over to jessicaosborne.com/pricing right now, get yourself enrolled, and I'll see you online by the end of the month. Oh, and one more thing. I've just decided, because it's the start of a new financial year here in Australia, that I will go 50-50 with you on this workshop. So if you put in the code 50 into the checkout for Pricing with Poise, then you'll get 50% off the already reduced rate. So this is a very limited time. It's only happening until this live workshop. You can get the 50% off just for the next week, and then it's over. Then you can join Pricing with Poise at the normal price of $397 after that. but just for the next week, you'll be getting it for $97. That is 75% off. That's ridiculous. Crazy. Let's do this. I can't wait to see you there, and we'll do it. Okay.